Hello IED students. I wanted to do a quick video on the hole dimension for our Pear Deck assignment for day 2 on holes. We are going to be replicating or drawing this part in Onshape. And so this we're going to do a lot more of this in the future. So we want to look at these technical drawings and break these down so that I can start replicating. For example, this is the hole that we want to draw gauge block in just a second. So if we look at this as the overall dimension, we have a top view that's showing we have a section, and the section just means that we're going to cut it right on this line. And when you cut it out, if you look at it from the front view, if you will, it kind of shows half of that gauge block, and it shows you how our holes are oriented. So each one of these corresponds with each of the holes from the top view, and these angled lines here just simply replicate. They're called hatch lines, and they just mean that this is the actual part, the solid part of the block. So you should always start with the overall dimensions. This is 3 inches. This is 2 inches. The holes are placed symmetrically or 1 inch from the end of the block. And then since we don't have an overall length, it's over here on the side. This is 10 inches. And again, since it doesn't give me that over here, it says all measurements are in inches. So I'm going to show you how to replicate this in Onshape. I just created a new folder, IED hole block for Pike. And we're going to select create a new document, IED holes last name. And you're hit OK, then you're given your graphics window, your little browser tree over here, your quick access toolbar along the top. So here's how we do it. Shift S to activate the sketch command. We want to draw this on the front plane. Once I left click, it gives me my sketch plane. Now I can right click and hit view normal to sketch plane. So I have 2 dimensions here. And now I can hit R for rectangle, or you can go up here and select rectangle from the quick access toolbar. My rectangle, and since this is the front view, I know that this needs to be 3 inches tall, and the overall length is 10 inches. So I will drag out and left click, and now Onshape wants to know what is the length. I'll type 10 on the keyboard, hit enter. It activates the height command. I'll type 3 on the keyboard, hit enter. And now I'm still in my rectangle command, but I'm done. So I'll hit escape. And I recommend that you drag these dimensions away from your drawing so that you can easily differentiate the two. So I have my length, I have my height. This is good, so I'm going to accept the sketch. And now I know I need to add my depth, which is 2 inches. So let's go to the isometric view. I like using the quick access or the view cube. Hover over the corner and left click. And at this point, you can hide these planes. If you hit P for Pike on your keyboard, it will hide all those planes. You can also go in the browser tree over here, and you can turn the view off for each one as well. So now I'm ready to extrude. So Shift E on the keyboard tells me to extrude. You can also go up here on the quick access toolbar and select the extrude command from there. But when I extrude, I'm going to hover and select the rectangle I drew. And now I want to change the direction because I drew this on the front plane. So here's my little directional arrow. I'll put it in the other direction. And I need my depth to be 2 inches. So after I hit 2 inches, I'm going to accept that. And now I have my gauge block. So the next thing will be to add a little construction line right down the center of the top, because I want these holes to fall 1 inch from the back. It's also 1 inch from the front. So here's how I do that. That's a new sketch. So Shift S, select the top view, right click, view normal to sketch plane, and now I'm ready to add my construction line. So I can hit L on the keyboard or hover and left click on line. And then a lot of different ways you can do this, but right here is the construction. I just want to change or toggle that on. And the reason for that is the construction line is used for dimensioning or location purposes, points of reference, but it doesn't necessarily come with us in our 3-dimensional world. So now I'm ready to add my line, and since this block is all 2 inches if I hover and drag, when I get to the midpoint of that line, it'll grab the grip as a little rectangle. And I can certainly put it on there and dimension it later, but since I can easily grab the grips, I'll just grab the grips and draw my construction line. And now I'm ready to add my points for my holes. So the important thing about holes to note is you need three things. You're going to need location on the horizontal x-axis, you're going to need location on the vertical y-axis, and then you need to know at minimum the diameter. So location, location, diameter for every hole. This hole information at the top allows us to make more specific holes, whether they're counterbore, countersunk, whether they're blind holes, meaning that they don't go all the way through the part like these two. Allows us to be more specific. So for us, I need to put my first point on here for my hole. Before I do that though, what I do recommend is over here on the right underneath the view cube, open up your rendering options and go down and change it from shaded to translucent. And that gives us a much easier part to work with, and you'll understand why in just a second. So let's add our first point on the quick access toolbar. I'm going to hover, it's right next to the spline feature. I'm going to select point, and I'm going to drop it on my construction line. So now that I've dropped it, I'm going to escape, and then I can dimension it. That's D on the keyboard, or it's right up here next to my geometric constraints. So I can left click the point, left click the end of the line, drag my dimension up, and then left click to activate, type in 2. I want it to be 2 inches from the end, and the reason for that is, you know, this block is 10 inches long. We have 4 holes. If we do every 2 inches, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, they'll be evenly placed. It will tell you if it wants it evenly placed in the future, but for clarity, I left that measurement off. So there are a couple ways. I can add other dimensions on here. I can add holes. I can use the linear pattern here if I want. As a matter of fact, let's use the linear pattern just so that you can see it. So I want to activate the linear pattern. I'm going to click on this hole, and then it asks me, okay, a couple things. Do I want to keep it on this axis, and how many holes do I want? So I'm going to click, yes, I want this one here, so I'm going to double click because I want it there to be 2 inches between them. And right now it's telling me I have 3, 1, 2, and there's a third one out here. So I'm going to change this to actually 4. And now I have second hole, third hole, and fourth hole on my block. So now I'm happy. Now I'm going to just left click, and now I have them here. And if you'd like, you can drag these dimensions up, drag these numeric occurrences up as well. And here are my locations. So I can go ahead and accept this, and now I have my block, I have my construction line, and on the top I have my points of reference. So the next step in video number 2 will be how to add these hole notation into our Onshape. Check back, and we will complete this activity in just a minute. See you all in a bit.